I think theology's for the clergy. I just believe in Jesus.
Certain hermeneutics of eschatology demand an exegetical approach.
I think you shouldn't question what you were taught in church. Isn't that blasphemy or something?
Theology. Unplugged.
Okay, we are back for Theology Unplugged. Welcome. It is great to see you. Great to have you. We are continuing with Ed, my buddy, talking about aliens. We went an hour last time. You got to listen to it. It's really great. It's a preamble to everything, and just trying to set us up to be able to talk about what on earth is going on, about UFO-logy, trying to understand what it is that we believe, how it is that we are to interact, how it is that we're to think about it, how it is that we're to tell other people about it whenever they ask these questions, and how it is that this fits into our theology. Because if something's happening, it fits some way. Okay, some truth is out there. There is truth out there that is objective truth. And then we try to subjectively mirror that objective truth the best we can with the sources that God has given to us. And so we're looking at this stuff, and I hope you're joining us and you're interested in this, because it is a theological issue. It is a theological claim. It is not just something that's going on out there that you can ignore. You can't ignore it, but it's just like ignoring technology. You know, you're putting your head in the sand, and you're not, as Ed told us last time, you are not exercising dominion that God gave us on this earth. And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, it's totally interesting to me. I try not to spend too much time on this stuff, but I probably I do spend too much time on it. But it's interesting to me. And I want to learn. I want to fit things in my theology. I want to teach. I want to think about these things and be able to respond to people and give them some type of plausible understanding of how it fits within our worldview. But watch this, okay?
Wow, sir. Are you scared of me? Because you should be. Okay, so you say you're from the future and an evolutionary descendant of humans. Yet you also say you're a different species. So, which one is it? Are you a descendant of humans or not? Then how do you know English? Answer me. If you don't answer, I'll administer another round of scopomy until your system collapses. Do you understand? Now, how do you speak English? So you just picked up English, just like that. Because you're so smart, right? Right. So, you said you know the origin of the universe, but you did not provide an explanation. So I ask you again, how was the universe created? Answer the question. Really? But you can't create something out of nothing. Sure it is. Only a creator can make something from nothing. Wait, you just contradicted yourself. So? Since nothing cannot exist, what is left is existence. Existence Wait, but you said there's an origin to the universe.
Okay, that video is a little bit longer. It goes on for a while, but I thought it was very interesting, Ed, because whenever we're talking about this stuff, it kind of represents the world, the fear that enters people, that somehow these people will have information, and if they're from another planet, if they're another species, if they've been able to travel here and they have the technology, and suddenly it like makes them legitimate to answer these questions, almost like you have died and you see somebody and you say, hey, what's it like in the afterlife? Or even talking to ghosts, to spiritualists. And now this interview with this alien seems to be the thing that people may be scared of. What if an alien did come and you asked him these questions and he said what he said? You see what I'm saying? Isn't that interesting?
Well, I think it is. I think that it's just hard to get past that these are hoaxes. You know what I mean? But the conversation itself is interesting. But an alien, if it's an alien, it's another created being, right? I mean, in a sense. But I guess the hard part is technically, right? We use the word ET, right? Extraterrestrial. But aren't all spiritual beings extraterrestrial by definition? They're not from here, right? They're spiritual beings. They're from heaven, some are going to hell, right? So isn't all of that technically alien anyway?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a view that people can take. I guess maybe I'm trying to think through what are all the options. Option number one, these are people from other planets that have evolved. Okay, so that's the first one, and kind of whenever that video, it probably feels like that is what they are trying to communicate. They know those people and they're beyond us. Now that's option number one. Now option number two is that the government is lying. Option number three is that this is some type of demonic activity. Now you say it's something that is from a different dimension possibly. And whenever you say something from a different dimension, are you talking about demons? Are you talking about, what are you talking about there?
I'm just talking about outside of our realm of vision, sight. Right? In other words, God has to be outside of the universe, right?
Yeah.
He created the universe. So the spiritual beings, the sons of God, the hosts of heaven, angels, demons, whatever you want to call them, are outside of dimension. They can come in, we can't go out. Right? They do come they come in and interact with the world. The watchers that report back to God in Job and Zacharias are clearly sent by God. They report back to God. They report to him in heaven. That heaven.
Now, whenever you say the watchers, that's probably something new to people. A lot of people, even Christians, have never really heard that. Maybe they passed through it in the Bible and didn't think much of it. But you said the watchers. What's that?
You only see the actual words, really, I guess, in Daniel is where they're actually called watchers. But there's angels in Job, right? We always say it was Satan, right? But it was really the Satan, right? In the Old Testament, it's not a proper name in the Old Testament. But in the beginning of Job, what's Job do? God says, the sons of God are meeting, and Satan, goes to God, and God asks him, "What were you doing?" He says, "Moving to and fro."
It's the accuser, right? The accuser.
Yeah, it's the accuser, right. And but the point is, he says he's going to and fro on the earth, and basically checking out what's going on, and that's the beginning of Job, right? So he would, in that case. When I say watchers, I'm talking about like what is it, Zechariah? Look it up. It's 1:9, I think it is. My bad. 1:7 to 9. But basically, it says the angel who talked with me said to me, "I will show you what they are." Because he asked, "Who are these people on the horses?" He says, These are they whom the Lord has sent to patrol the earth. And they answered, the angel of the Lord who was standing among the myrtle trees and said, "We have patrolled the earth and behold, all the earth remains at rest. Okay, so they're reporting back and forth to God what's going on in the earth, and so that's who the watchers are. They're angels that report the goings on on earth back to God.
Ed, what were you reading from?
It's ESV, Zechariah, chapter 1, and I kind of read just the middle of verse 9 to 11.
Okay. So that was in the Bible what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now let me guide. Let me take you to a place. At least this is kind of my view. And we've talked about this over the phone or on text. We've gone back and forth, and this is kind of the main thing that I said. Let's wait until we get on our podcast to do this, because I want the conversation to be really the first time we've talked about it in this way since all this stuff has happened, and make it more unplugged at least. But okay, so here's my deal, Ed. I think you're going to agree with me. I think we're in the same place. I'm not positive, but I know we're close to the same place, but we're not. We may not be in the exact same place. But here's my thinking, because you like you said, you called them the Watchers. The Bible does. You talked about Satan being the name of a noun of an accuser, the Satan. It just became, Satan after that. And, that may have been the same Satan. Who knows, right?
Right. Yeah, we're not sure, but it could be.
But you've got him. You've got this group called angels, which also is a designation of what they do, not who they are, right?
Right. It's not ontological. It's an office. It's a role, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I think the mistake that we make probably... And you also got demons. That's kind of the way we put it. Somewhere you got people, animals, angels, demons. Those are our categories of higher beings,
right.
And that's the only thing we have.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. You come in and you say the Watchers. All of a sudden you say, well, what are the Watchers? And you say, well, the Bible talks about them, and you say, okay, they're just an angel, right? Here's my view. No, not necessarily. I mean, angel simply means messenger, and they may not be messenger, but angel is not a species. Okay, I'm starting with that, and I want to build on that. Angel is not a species. Demons may not be what we think they are. I'm going to let you break that one. Most people haven't heard this, but I think it's pretty legitimate. But I don't think demons are what we think they are. You're going to have to hang out to figure out what demons are. But they're not a species either. Well, they may be. They're actually, to me, qualify more for a species than angels do. But maybe they're not fallen angels. But so you've got this creation, and God talks about the host of heaven, and we automatically assume those categories: angels, people, animals, and demons. But what if God is doing a lot more than that? And he just didn't tell us, He did tell us some things, because he does have his counsel. He does have things that are going on that are weird, that don't fit within the worldview. In 2 Kings, I believe it is, whenever he calls and says, who will go down and be a deceiving spirit to Ahab. And, one of the people that were around him said, or one of the beings that were around him said, I'll go be a deceiving spirit, and, tell him, what it is that's going to mess him up. And so God told him to go do that. And so then you got all that. You just said it. Satan is walking around in heaven, or at least in front of God, in the dimension of God. So you've got all these beings that are in heaven, not necessarily angels, but you got to say they are a creation of God, and God has done a lot more than we think he has. And so you've got this thing that opens up that God has created a lot more species, and maybe they're in heaven with him, but maybe they're somewhere else as well. I mean, somewhere in a different dimension. This is going to be the weird thing, Ed. Okay, let's mix the two. Let's say these are real aliens. These are real people. They're not angels. They're not demons. Let me just put that out there for a second. You know my view on ghosts. I think ghosts are real. I don't think they're all demons. I think some of them are, but I think a lot of them are actually just fallen or unredeemed souls of people waiting for judgment. But that's a different subject. We can talk about that sometime. But this is something that I've been thinking about recently, and I'm just playing with it. So this is not necessarily my view, but it's one of the what ifs, and I like the what ifs. I think those things are the most fun to bring in because I like to expand my understanding of the infinite God, of our infinite God, who is inscrutable, who we will be learning about for all eternity, and then think he's doing other things out there. This is not it. We assume this is it. Now I do believe this. Let me start with this foundational element and put the nail, hang this up and it's staying there. I do believe there's something different about humans than all other species, simply because Christ became a human forever in order to redeem us. That is crazy. That I still can't believe that. So it's amazing, and I think humans were created. It's very good, and I assume, I'm not positive, I assume there's something really more in his image about us. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm not trying to say our humans are the best or racist or whatever you would call them.
Barry said we're the best.
What's that?
Barry said we're the best humans. So.
I didn't hear that. Carrie said we're the best?
She just posted on...
Oh, there's Carrie. Yes, we're the best. I actually talking to Carrie about this just last night. But I think there's something special, so I'm hanging that up. But I don't know whether or not, let's say there's another dimension, and I don't even know how to define dimension. Okay, I'm just using that word, but it's something that is outside of the way we exist right now. Maybe parallel, maybe far away. I don't know. Dimensions don't need spatial categories. At least I don't think they do. I mean, we don't know this stuff. We're discovering, and it's interesting and it's fun, and I can't wait to hear more. And I think this is part of our discovery. That's why I get so excited about it. But what if there are other creation of God? And here's a weird thing I'm going to say, Ed. What if there's another creation of God that is somewhat like humans? They look like the Greys, let's say, even though most of them say that.
You didn't mention the Nordics, right?
No. What are those?
The Nordics are the tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed ones.
I think that's the last one I mentioned that I talked about that said they were humanoids. Yeah, they put those together sometimes.
A lot of people call them the Nordics because
I didn't mention the Men in Black. Yeah, I did mention the Men in Black because I said they were similar to that. But let's say that there are other species out there in different dimensions, and let's be really weird, okay? It's going to sound weird at first, but I do think there's no reason not to believe this, and I think you're going to agree.
Okay.
What if you got angels, that whatever species angels are, and they seem to be different species because I don't know if they procreate. I don't think they do, but they may have. I don't know. I mean, obviously, the angels came down and had sex with women, and I do take that view of Genesis chapter 6, and they actually produce, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I know Ed wants to get to that. But what if you have...
real interesting on that, though, too.
Huh?
For the people who take the Sethite view and the verse they generally use. So we'll talk about them when we get to it.
Yeah, good. So here I'm ending it right here. This is the end of my monologue, but I just want to present this. What if you have all of these other species that God created? He's doing stuff. He's not just with us. We're special, but whatever. And those things, those beings, even the angels, work kind of similar to we do. They exist in a time. They have existed for a certain amount of time. They are enjoying God and God's presence if they love God. However, God is dealing with them and their righteousness, he's dealing with it. That's for sure. I don't know how he is. They may be good ones. There may be bad ones, just like here on the earth. And what if they have, along with the angels, have technology and that's how they exist. I mean, we automatically think, oh, it's another being from heaven, so it can fly, it can go through walls, it can, we assume all this stuff that is just really odd, that it doesn't have to use other things. Whenever it travels, it can disappear and reappear somewhere else. I don't think that this is necessarily true. I think that whenever you're talking about demons, whenever you're talking about angels, whenever you're talking about other beings, they follow the rules of physics. They have to. There is a rule of physics. I don't know what it's like. It's probably similar to ours.
Unless our laws of physics aren't fully fleshed out, and there's things that that they know that we don't know, and I'm not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so let's say they are advanced to such a degree that now they have figured out how to make a portal. I know it sounds weird, but let's just consider it. They make a portal and go through the portal, and then they're with us, and they are like, whoa, okay, there is another. They go back and tell all their scientists and everything, and then you have the laws or whatever that tell you can't go through the portal in this place, in this country, but in another country you can't, just like us. But the people, maybe they're rebelling, going through the portal, coming here, or maybe they are trying to help us.
So you're saying they're illegal aliens, is what you're saying?
What's that?
You're saying they're illegal aliens?
Oh, I'm just saying they're in rebellion from their society. Maybe their society has laws that say you cannot go through portals because, I mean, it's just like we would have laws if we discovered a time machine or something. You can't go to the time machine and mess up the past or something like that. But what I'm saying here is, why do we assume it's just these three species, and this is the way these other species are? Like angels don't have technology, don't need technology. Don't enjoy technology. We're not put in control, in dominion over anything that they needed to do advance. But isn't that part of God, part of the being like God? And aren't these people, don't we assume they are somewhat in the image of God, and therefore they would have technology? God wouldn't just give them all this information. And so you see where I'm going, Ed. I'm trying to open the door and say, maybe it's angels, maybe it's demons, but maybe it's another species that is an actual other species that has technology that is advanced to be able to figure out how to break the time barrier or make a portal.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Well, again, to me, I think it's possible. Like I said in the very beginning, right? I think that God has the ability, certainly, to create other planets. If he created us, he created the universe, he can do whatever he wants, and he's certainly capable of doing. So my only thing is, like I said before, just seems like he would have let us know if it was even going to be possible for them to reach us. He doesn't have to let us know. I just think it adds a big level of confusion to us. If there's God has life on other planets, they can reach us, and he doesn't tell us about them. Do they have assembly lines for I think they do. They're just not made. They're probably in China, most likely, or the equivalent, right? But so I'm not opposed to. I'm not opposed to the idea that God, like the Bible is God's. The Bible's the revelation of God in our life, in our world, right? In this creation, God created the universe, but the Bible is about what's going on here. If there is another planet that has people on it that we would call aliens, and I was only kidding about the illegal aliens. I just thought that was kind of anyway. But they probably have their own Bible, and maybe their Bible, right? So I'm going along your line, right? So in that scenario, maybe they know, hey, I've created people over here, and here's how you can get to them. I have no idea, but it's speculation. I don't think it changes anything. I just feel like it's odd if God didn't let us know.
Yeah, I do too. I totally agree.
It could be a great perception.
It is odd. It is odd, and that's one of the things that hangs up a little bit on me. But at the same time, I'm always like, well, He doesn't have to, I'm not saying I take this view, but I'm completely with you on this and the idea that it just doesn't seem like it.
Right.
And I think that's fine to think that, but I think it's important for us to open our mind. Carrie says, do they have assembly lines for interdimensional vehicles? I think they do. No, I don't say I think they do. I think it's absolutely possible. Now, and then she also asked, do they have vehicles somewhere? Do they have build that extra dimensional wall? That's something different. But listen, this is in Ezekiel chapter 1. Ezekiel sees God. This is the time whenever God comes to him. And you know that whenever people see ghosts, whenever people see these vehicles, it seems to be there's very common things that happen. One of them obviously is light, right?
Mhm.
And then another one is very odd descriptions. We call them cigars. What else do we call them? We call them cigars, and what else?
Tic Tacs, right?
Tic Tacs. So, I mean, I saw a Tic Tac in the sky. I saw a cigar in the sky because that's all we see. We don't know what else to call them. We can't call them a Chevrolet Camaro, which that'd be awesome if they have a Chevrolet Camaro that can fly. I'll get one someday. But we don't call them something because we don't know what they are. Now, Ezekiel is sitting here. And there's other common things. You got cold. People get cold even whenever they see Bigfoot. There's all the same types of stuff happen. And what's interesting to me from a scientific standpoint and just observing is that these things always happen or almost always happen in places that there are high electromagnetic fields. The EMF is high. You can take a EMF reader and it goes off the charts. And so there's something about electromagnetism that they either produce or they need. That's the thing that it seems to be. I'm not saying that's my view. I don't know what's going on, but I do take the observations and I do take all the data that we have, and I have to say this is part of the data, and it makes me scratch my head. So having said that everybody sees kind of similar stuff, listen to what Isaiah says. And I'm not saying they're all seeing God, but listen to what he says whenever he does see God. He says, Ezekiel, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Says, I looked and saw a windstorm coming from the north. This is chapter 1, verse 4. There was a big cloud with lightning from it and a bright light around it. So he's describing the best he can what he saw. Okay, just imagine this in your mind. Inside the fire was something like shining brass, and the fire was what looked like 4 living creatures. They looked like men, but each one of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet were like those of a calf. They shine bright as brass. Under their wings, their 4 sides were hands like a man's. Isn't this crazy? This definition that is just bizarre, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, he hasn't said that they were smoking cigars, but but the thing is, he's just describing something the best he can. And their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each one moved straight ahead. As for their faces, they looked like each one 4 faces of a man, a face of a lion, a face of on the right side, a face of a bull on the left side, a face of an eagle. Such were the faces. The wings spread out above, and they had 2 wings touching one another, each one covering their bodies, and they went straight ahead. And the place where the spirit would go, they would turn without turning as they went, or they would go without turning as they went. But so he's talking about this thing just moving really crazy. Isn't it crazy? He's talking about how it jumped and did things that we can't understand whenever we're seeing these UFOs, how they move, the physics we don't understand, because they can be going 30,000 miles an hour and just immediately be going 30,000 miles an hour the other way. And so I'm not saying this is a UFO, but here's what I'm saying is that this is an object, it's unidentified, and he's describing it the best he can. And so it's a spiritual thing, but it's something that God is using to travel. Of course, God can appear and God can do whatever he wants, but we are ruled by the laws of physics until God comes in and miraculously does things to us. Philip, was transported from one place to another in order to spread the gospel. That was not because we have that power now. That's not because the physics have changed, just because God produced a miracle for that individual circumstance. Otherwise, he should have traveled. He should have walked. He should have gotten a horse, whatever, a camel. He usually would. And the idea is all of God's creatures probably have vehicles that they have to travel in.
I don't know if they have to or not, because they're Just like with the story in Genesis, right? They took on human form to have sex with the women.
Well, it doesn't say they took on human form.
No, but I mean, if they had, they didn't. Did they put? It says they had sex with the women.
Well, I know, but why do you say they took on human form to do that? Maybe they already had at least that capability within their species.
I think that's a stretch. But anyway, I mean, they take on.
You think mine is a stretch that say they naturally had this stuff, and yours is not a stretch that they came down here and morphed into having a penis?
Yeah, when God and the two angels went to visit Abraham, right before, and then they ended up going to Lot, right? The two angels go to Lot, and they sat there and they ate and they drank with Abraham. Do you think that's their natural form?
Yes, I do.
You think that they're physical beings in the spiritual world?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's some type of physicality to them. I don't know how to describe a non-corporeal being. I don't think that can exist in any universe because it's basically describing nothing. Whenever we describe a spirit, it is somewhere. There is geography to it, some type of geography. It has some type of extension in space. And so therefore we can't just say spiritual as if, I'm a spiritual person and that means just this nothing, it's a different way of using spirit. I'm not saying I have a spirit. Whenever I say I'm a spiritual person, when we talk about having a spirit, we're talking about something, not just an invisible something, not just something that you can't see, but is otherwise everything like us or has its own shape, but you can't see it. That doesn't make any sense. So my thoughts here, and again, I mean, I may be talking about this with a raised voice and excited. It doesn't mean I know this for sure.
I know your techniques.
But okay, so yeah, I do believe that they probably had. I do believe they probably had a penis. I do believe that they probably had a sex drive because they looked down and they saw the daughters of men were beautiful. What does that mean? They lusted after them, and it's not like they produced that lust right there just to sin against God. I think they were tempted. There was a real temptation because they had the faculties to do that.
Yeah, I definitely think they were tempted. Well, what about Jude? Right, we know that Jude is referring back to the Genesis 6 story, right? Now let's see here. Jude 6, chapter 1, obviously there's only one chapter. And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness till the judgment of the great day. So Jude, he mentions that, but where does he get that from? Where does Peter get that from? They both get it from First Enoch, because First Enoch gives a lot of detail, a ton of detail about what happened. Right?
Yeah, Enoch, folks, is a apocryphal work. That simply means that all the apocrypha is that which was created, and when we're talking about the Old Testament apocrypha, which just means veiled. But the apocrypha is that which was written in between the Old Testament and the New Testament. It's sometimes called the Greek canon, and the Greek canon has a lot of things in it. And the Book of Enoch is one of those. And the Book of Enoch, you got First Maccabees and the Book of Enoch. There's a couple more, but they were all very well respected books. The Book of Enoch is an important book for, I believe, it's very important for Christians to read. Just like I say, I think it's important to read the early church fathers, or it's important to read St. Augustine or Calvin, whatever it is. It's like that. I'm not saying it's inspired, but I am saying that it presents a view that seems to be, just like Ed is saying here, seems to be affirmed in the New Testament. That's not the only place. There's a couple of places where Enoch is referred to, and we at least know this, that whenever Jesus was here on the earth, he knew about Enoch. He knew about the traditions that Enoch wrote about and what was going on. I'm not saying Enoch wrote it. I don't know who wrote it. I think it's just the traditions of Enoch, but at the same time, that's the reason why he's quoting it, because not because we believe it's inspired, but because we believe it is it has truth to it. We're not sure how much, but it seems to have enough truth, at least, for the apostles and Jesus to have believed the traditions of it. Okay,
Right.
sorry, long thing.
No, it's good though, because and then Carrie just said Christ makes reference to it, and Jude directly quotes it in whatever a couple verses later he quotes Enoch. I believe it's 1:9, but yeah, there's the ancient Jews. This is the stuff they read, right? They read this stuff. They had the Torah, right? They had some people. There was some people had the scrolls, right? And they would go, and the priests would read the scrolls. But this other literature was read by people and understood. And so when you go back to bibliology and you talk about authorial intent, right, and who the original audience was, a lot of things that seem so confusing to us is because the author's making a statement that he expected the audience to already know what he's talking about. We today, especially because Enoch got pushed aside along with all the other apocryphal books, we don't know a lot of the references because we don't read that literature. Mm-hmm. So if you do read that literature, it opens up more things because now you're thinking more like the person that the scripture was actually written to.
I think you're absolutely right. And you're talking about I'm not saying well, you're talking about basic hermeneutics, really. You know, it's just how to study the Bible. It's very, very important. Trying to understand the background. But okay, so Enoch talks about this stuff, and okay, so yes, Jude quotes Enoch. I believe that, you know, of course, I believe Jude, and so it makes me respect Enoch. And so, but there's nothing in Enoch that tells me that they are non-physical or don't have extension in space, at least.
Okay, hang on a second. Let me. There is something. So let's go to first of all with the Sethite view. I don't know if Carrie's serious or not, but anyway.
Yeah,
so
Carrie's serious. She does. Carrie does believe in the Sethite view.
Okay. So
here's a question that may fit in. Let's see here. What if Chip says, what if God is revealing new truths? His revelations are not complete after all, are they? Well, of course not. But the revelation of salvation, the soteriological history that was canonized and we hold to be dogma is completed. And so that purpose is completed. But absolutely not is his revelation completed. You're exactly right. So good statement. I threw in there. I wanted to get Chip sometime. So
yes,
go ahead.
It's great to see Chip back on here. It is funny to have a couple of the original TTPers here. 18 years later, or 20 years, whatever. So anyway, let me open up something. Oh, I want to just go with this one thing though about not about Enoch necessarily, but about the different view, right? The different view of Genesis 6:1-4. So
you're running away from my statement about the angels having penises. I'm just making that clear to the audience.
Okay, I know, but that's just look real quick.
Okay.
So,
where are we going?
Okay, so where most people go when they say that Genesis 6:1-4 can't be true because the angels can't have sex is they generally go to Matthew, right? Yeah. 22, 29, and 30, right? And I'll read that real quick. I'm sorry, I have a cold, so my voice isn't very good. It says, but Jesus answered them, you are wrong.
Wait. What's this passage again? Say it one more time.
Matthew 22, 29, and 30.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
Okay. So it says, but Jesus answered them, you are wrong because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. For in the resurrection, they neither marry or neither marry, nor are given in marriage, but are like angels in heaven. That's the verse. So if you're generally, if you're trying to deny Genesis 6:1-4 is really about the fallen angels having sex with women, would you agree with that or not?
I would say that that's about fallen angels not marrying women in the context of what the question was. The question has to do with the Mosaic law, you know, where you take a brother's wife if he dies so that you can take care of her. And the idea was more responsibility. I don't think they were saying which one is he going to have sex with in heaven, or you know, he had sex with this girl, and this girl. I don't think that was the theme, and I don't think it's necessarily implied either. Because I would say that if they're like the angels, that does not mean they don't have sex. It means they don't marry.
So you think they do have sex in heaven?
Well, I think yes. Here's what I'd say. I think they have sexual drives, whatever this species was. I don't know about other species.
Okay.
There could be lots of species that don't, but I think this particular species that fell in Genesis chapter 6 did have a sex drive, and they, in that sense, in some sense, from their perspective, they committed bestiality. And it was odd too. I don't think they produced the power to have sperm that would coincide with that would work. I think they probably already had this stuff, and for some reason it did work. Now, of course, I could be wrong about this stuff, but my thing is to you and everybody else: why would my view not be considered just as much as anybody else's?
Okay, can I finish this?
No.
So, where I'm going to get to it in a second. I'm trying to.
All right.
So in the verse, right, in 29, Jesus says, "You are wrong because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God." So he says, you don't know the scripture. Then in 30, he says, "For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like the angels in heaven." The question is, where in scripture is verse 30?
Now, okay, wait. Let me go to it real quick.
Okay.
At the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. Now, wait a minute. I don't understand what you just asked. You just asked, where in scripture is this particular scripture I just read?
Right.
And I'm like, it's right there.
No. I know. I said besides that verse. Because in 29, Jesus says you're wrong because you know neither the scriptures nor the power of God. So he's saying, you guys don't know the scripture. That's why you're making this mistake. They're not going to get married.
Okay, Ed, that is really cool. I never really thought about that.
Okay,
that is true. That's true. And now I want to hear what you have to say. Where in scripture? Do you have an answer to that?
I do. Otherwise, I brought it up.
Give it to me.
It's not in the canon, but it's in the ancient writings.
Okay. Well, I understand that, but go ahead with this.
First Enoch 15, verse 5 to 7. Therefore, he's talking to the angels. He's replying to Enoch, who has the angels that were locked up are asking Enoch to go and petition God for him. Okay, in this chapter. So therefore, have I given them wives? He's talking about the people. I've given them wives also that they might impregnate them and beget children by them, that thus nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life and immortal for all generations of the world. Therefore, I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. Right? And then he goes on and talks about, and now the giants who were produced from the spirits and flesh, shall be called evil spirits upon the earth. That's where demons come from, according to Enoch. Specifically demons. It's the disembodied spirits of the Nephilum.
Okay. You said something really big. We are going to take that up again in just a moment, but go ahead with this. We're still on, do angels have penises?
Okay. Well, I mean, how do you not see that in what I just read to you that they're
I didn't even hear the word penis.
Because how do you say something that you don't have? He's saying that
I'm not. I'm saying that says the same thing. They don't marry. And you said, I think you emphasized that they're spiritual beings. And okay, I would say this. I would say, what does that mean? Paul in Corinthians calls us, we're going to be raised with this spiritual body. Is it physical? Yes, it is. And so spiritual does not necessarily mean non-physical in those contexts. It means in concert with God. So that is what, in those contexts, I believe that's what it means. You are in concert with God, meaning you have a relationship with Him established, and you're set.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this because you like sex too much to be reasonable.
I do, dude. I do, and I admit that, and I admit there's a very strong bias going on right now. But at the same time, honestly, I do say this. I say there's no reason. I had a podcast on this. There's no reason not to believe that there will be sex in heaven. There will just not be marriage. The only reason we say that is because of that particular passage. But I'm not saying I know what it is. I mean, who's that? Who's the theologian that talks about this? He says something great. He says something like, you can compare sex down here to eating a potato chip compared to in heaven chocolate. And so there's something going to be like it, eating on both of those. I don't know. He said it better than I did, but it's just whatever it is, it's better in heaven. It's not like he gives us something that is special down here, very important for establishing a relationship and something that's incredibly intimate. And then he says, nope, you don't get that. I know it was really great down there, and it may have been one of the greatest things that connected you because relationships are so important, but I'm not giving you anything like that now. So I think in heaven there will be sex. I do believe we will have penises. I can't tell you how it's going to work out, but it will work out somehow. I say I do believe. Why couldn't there be? And it's something that I think we've built a box in that maybe is outside of that box. And I think the angels in Genesis chapter 6 are an example of that these angels lusted. They had a reason to lust. There was something in their brain, chemicals in their brain, whatever it is that works like ours. And they said, those women are beautiful. I'm going to go down and have sex with them. We can empathize with the feeling of wanting to have sex. And therefore we say, well, they had to have built within them some way to fulfill this feeling, whether it was sinful or not. And they did. They went down there and had sex and had babies. Therefore, they had penises.
Okay.
Boom. Where's the mic?
You convinced yourself, so.
Okay. We'll agree to disagree on that. But I think we are in agreement on this. Number one, and this is one of the important things that I think you have to establish. Me and Ed, I think we do agree, right, about Genesis chapter 6, that those were really spiritual beings.
Yeah. They were really spiritual. Yeah, they were angels. Right?
Yeah,
or fallen sons of God.
Yeah, I don't know if they were angels.
No, I mean, generically speaking. We put them in that category, and it's fine too sometimes. But please understand, in this particular podcast, I've been separating some of those things out, and so when we hear that, well, I may accidentally say they're angels, but I didn't mean that. I'm not sure whether they are angels, and that's kind of what Ed's doing the same thing. Yeah, I would say sons of God, right?
Yeah, me too.
Says, right, and so that would be in the hierarchy.
But they weren't humans, right?
No, they're not. They're definitely not humans.
Okay, let's talk about that for a minute, because I think this is going to lead us. We're talking about aliens here, folks. We're talking about UFOs, but we're building towards something important.
When you talk about aliens, right, you also have to think about, what about all the alien abductions?
Yes, very much.
And how does that fit with Genesis 6?
Isn't it crazy? I mean, we're sitting here talking about alien abductions with a straight face.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I have a straight face right now, folks. And it's something that if you deny these things right now, or if you accept these things right now, no matter what, you're going to be called something crazy. So we don't have a choice but to be crazy anymore. You can stick your head in the sand again, but that's not what we do as children of God, as people who are in dominion over the earth, as people who are fulfilling God's will. We want to discover, but okay, so angels came down, had sex with humans, and now here's the deal, Ed, is that I think that, and I think you're with me again, I think that the Nephilum, and what is it, the Raphaim?
Yeah, Nephilim, Raphaim.
Yeah, both of those mentioned in the Bible. Those were they were the children of this union, of this from an angelic standpoint, bestiality, crossing of species that was not supposed to happen. And I do believe that they were giants. I can't tell you how tall they were, but I think they were a lot taller than 9 feet, because it seems to be said in certain ways that they were. But and then you go to the Book of Enoch, and you read through the Book of Enoch, and then the Book of the Giants, and these books tell us a whole lot about these species, and it forms, as Ed said earlier, the background information to Christ and the apostles. And I'm not saying they believed all of it, but we know they read it, and we know they seem to generally accept the assumptions of the Book of Enoch. And that is incredibly interesting, folks. It's something that's so important for just your understanding of the New Testament in general, but also for what we're talking about here right now, because I think it has relevance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You do.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. That's why I brought it up, and because it's the idea of the Nephilum. Sorry, my cat just jumped in my window. The idea of the Nephilum being, they're separate. So let me go back to the idea of the sons of God, right? That is it. If it was on ancient aliens or whatever, right, they would call that an abduction.
Okay, wait. We've gone 2 hours. We need to take a break again. Is that okay? Hey, listen, is it okay if we pick that up? Because the Nephilim is a great place to start.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, you're fine to stay.
Yeah, my wife went to Honduras with my son, so it's just
okay. Good. I didn't know it was going to go this long. I expected maybe 30 minutes, but like I said, we can keep on going forever. Okay, hold on. All right, we're going to take. No, that's not what I want to say. Listen, folks, we need to stop here. It doesn't mean we're stopping for good. We've got more to talk about, and we're going to pick it back up talking about the Nephilim next time and what they are. And you won't believe what we say about them, about the Nephilim, and what we do both. I think both of us would agree, we're pretty sure is correct. These Nephilim were much more than you think they were. We'll see. You have to wait, or you have to join us next time for that. Thank you for joining us this time. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to go to my Patreon page, Patreon.com/C Michael Patton. You can find me just about anywhere just by putting C Michael Patton, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon. Just put that in, and then you can find me. Subscribe there, become a member, and help us out. That would be really great. Ed, I will see you in next time. Thank you for joining us.
Theology